It seemed like just another ordinary moment. But that's when life makes its cut, subtle at first, almost invisible. When those closest to you become strangers. When the help you've been waiting for comes not from those who should have been there, but from somewhere else entirely. He asked, he begged, for his daughter's life. In return, the chill of champagne, the rustle of an evening gown, and the words, "This isn't a good time." But someone sold their home to save a child. Someone stayed in bed, but not with him. Someone betrayed him, and no longer deserves forgiveness. And someone, with nothing, gave everything. And now, as the pleas of the past turn into cries for salvation, he's the one who decides who deserves a second chance and who earns a final goodbye. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends or family. It really helps my channel a lot. Please tell me in which city or country you watched this video. I value every one of your comments, so let's get started. Dad, can we get ice cream later? Luna asked, her tone full of hope. She looked up at me, her eyes gleaming, already dressed in the outfit she adored most. Pink sneakers and a t-shirt covered in butterflies. The living room was glowing in the golden light of a peaceful Saturday morning, casting a warm hue across everything, like a scene from a heartfelt film. I was 32, and Luna, my one and only, had just turned 8. Most dads probably wouldn't think twice about saying yes to a simple treat. But I was drowning in deadlines at my small interior design business. 2 big projects were on my plate. A trendy new office space for a fast-growing tech company, and a full-scale redesign of a luxury townhouse for a high-profile investor. Stress was eating away at me. Still, I forced a smile. "Sure," I said. Her face lit up instantly. No matter how much pressure I was under, I couldn't let Luna feel like she was anything less than my world. On the couch, Elise sat quietly, thumbing through her phone. That silence had become her default mode. When she did speak, her voice felt distant, like her mind was constantly elsewhere. I glanced over. She met my eyes briefly, offered a tight-lipped smile, and turned her attention back to her screen. Who was she texting? Someone from her old preschool job? A friend from the book club she used to love? Her emotional distance had crept in slowly, so subtly that I barely noticed at first. Life had been hectic for both of us, giving us all the excuses we needed to disconnect. But looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs. I didn't realize how close we were to unraveling. Back then, I thought our biggest concerns were Luna's stubborn cough and our rapidly shrinking savings. I chalked up Elise's aloofness to stress. I had no clue we were standing on the edge of something far more serious. One early morning, while I stood in the kitchen pouring coffee, she said without emotion, "Derek, Luna's cough still isn't getting better." There was tension in her voice, even though she tried to sound calm. From down the hallway, Luna's coughing echoed, harsh, dry, and relentless. It had been over 2 weeks, with no sign of improvement. "I'll take her in tomorrow," I said. Elise crossed her arms tightly. "That's what you said last week." Her words hit me hard. She wasn't accusing me outright, but the disappointment was clear. I stopped mid-sip, the weight of guilt pressing on my chest. Work had consumed me, but Luna needed me more. "You're right," I replied. "I'll call today." That visit opened the door to a blur of consultations, tests, and finally, a CT scan. The results shattered us. Luna had a rare birth defect compressing one of her lungs. She needed surgery, soon. When the hospital gave us the estimate, $12,000 up front, I felt the blood drain from my body. That's when it hit me. We didn't have valid health insurance. We'd skipped coverage, planning to find a better plan later, but later never came. Now our delay had turned into a financial nightmare. "What are we going to do, Derek?" Elise asked, her voice trembling between fear and anger. Luna lay nearby, asleep in her hospital bed, a thin IV taped to her arm. I fought down the panic. "We'll figure it out," I said, though I had no clue where to start. Our savings barely scratched $25,000. I could liquidate parts of my business, but that still wouldn't cover it. Then I thought of my parents. Malcolm and Lydia, my mom and dad, owned a popular furniture store in town. They weren't loaded, but they were far from struggling, always throwing parties and going on lavish vacations. A six-figure loan wouldn't ruin them. "I'll ask my parents," I told Elise, trying to sound certain, even though doubt was gnawing at me. Her look was weary, skeptical. She knew too well that my parents had always played favorites, fawning over my younger brother Riley, while I often felt like an afterthought. Still, this was about Luna. Surely they'd step up, wouldn't they? That evening, under a dreary, rain-soaked sky, I pulled into their driveway. A row of luxury cars was parked outside, another one of their lavish parties. Figures. The moment I stepped through the door, I was hit by the swirl of classical music, perfume, and laughter. "Derek?" my mom called from the staircase. She wore a shimmering gown, champagne in hand. The house was filled with guests in formal wear, toasting and chatting like they didn't have a care in the world. Across the room, my father stood with a drink, deep in conversation, looking smug and completely in his element. I pushed through the crowd toward my mother. "Can we talk privately?" I asked. She lifted an eyebrow. "Now? This is Riley's engagement party. Can it wait?" "No, it can't," I said, my voice steady. Clearly annoyed, she led me to my father's study, a rare, quiet corner of their mansion. My father joined us moments later, already frowning. "What's the emergency?" I took a breath to steady myself. "It's Luna. She's in the hospital. She needs surgery right away. It's serious, and the cost is $12,000 up front." My mom took another slow sip of her drink, her eyes cold and assessing. "That's unfortunate," she said, her tone clipped. "But everything we have right now is going toward Riley's wedding." "What do you mean you can't help?" I demanded, my voice edged with disbelief. My father exhaled heavily, glancing at his wristwatch. "We've already funneled hundreds of thousands into this wedding," he said. "The venue, the catering, everything's locked in. There's no backing out now. It's all prepaid," he added flatly. "Nothing's refundable." I stared at both of them, speechless. "So you're saying you won't lift a finger for Luna? She might not survive without this operation." My mother's expression turned cold. "Don't exaggerate," she replied. "Yes, it's a serious condition, but there have to be options. Payment plans, loans, something. Riley's wedding is in a week, and we're throwing the pre-party tonight. We can't just scrap it all now." It felt like a blow to the gut. "Do you hear what you're saying? This is Luna we're talking about, your granddaughter, and you're telling me a party is more important?" My father's jaw tightened with irritation. "Derek, this is not the right moment," he said. "You should have been smarter with your finances. What happened to your insurance policy? Your emergency funds?" That's when Riley strolled in, dressed to impress, a smug grin spreading across his face. "What's all the tension about?" he asked. My father waved dismissively toward me. "Your brother wants us to cough up $12,000 for Luna's medical procedure." Riley's brow furrowed with performative concern. "That's brutal, man. But seriously, the wedding's right around the corner. Everyone's flying in. This isn't a cookout we can just postpone. It's a major event. Moving funds like that now, not doable." My hands balled into fists. "I swear on everything, I'll pay back every penny. This is Luna's life on the line." He didn't even blink. "My responsibility is to my fiancée and her people. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but it's the reality." Rage and heartbreak twisted together inside me, a nauseating mix. How could they be so unmoved? These were Luna's grandparents, her uncle. I dropped to the floor, no longer able to hold it together, tears threatening to spill. Shame burned in my face, but I didn't care anymore. Please, I whispered, voice trembling. I'm begging. Help me save my daughter. Riley's smirk turned cruel. Come on, man. Don't do this here. You're killing the vibe. I looked up at him, hate simmering in my chest. So this is what family means to you? My mother let out an impatient sigh. Derek, this is not the time for dramatics. Get up. People will notice. Let them see, I snapped. Let them watch. You'll spend a fortune on tuxedos, champagne, and Instagram moments, but not on a little girl clinging to life? My father rubbed his forehead, frustrated. We have guests arriving. We don't have time for this scene. I stood, my breath ragged, my eyes locked onto theirs. I'll remember this, every second of it. Then I turned away and stormed through the crowd. Outside, the rain slashed across the windshield as I drove, tears finally slipping down my cheeks. The betrayal stuck to me like poison I couldn't purge. Meanwhile, Elise's parents had rushed to the hospital the moment they got the call about Luna. They weren't dressed in high-end labels or expensive watches, just worn clothes, tired eyes, and hearts full of love. Elise's father paced the corridor, hands kneading his temples. How much do you need? He asked. When I gave him the number, he went pale. But after a moment, he straightened his back. We'll find a way, he said firmly. Elise's mother laid a gentle hand on my shoulder. We won't let her fall through the cracks, she said, her voice soft but steady. They gave what they could. I sold my car. It brought in a decent chunk. I emptied my business account. Friends, colleagues, even distant acquaintances stepped up. But we were still nearly $4,000 short. Then one afternoon, Elise's father pulled me aside. We'll handle the rest, he said, almost in a whisper. Don't stress. I blinked at him in disbelief. How? That's a massive amount. He gave me a small, weary smile. We sold our house. The words hit me like a freight train. My own parents wouldn't give up $1, but my in-laws had given up their home. I reached out, grasping his hand, searching for something, anything to say. I can't begin to thank you. He squeezed my hand with quiet strength. Just make sure Luna pulls through. Because of their sacrifice, and the generosity of so many others, we finally reached the amount the hospital needed. Luna got the surgery, and it worked. When the doctor told us she was going to be okay, it felt like someone had taken the crushing weight off our backs. Elise collapsed into her parents' arms, sobbing with gratitude. She was going to live. And it wasn't because of blood. It was because of love. I sank into the nearest chair, burying my face in my hands. The weight of it all crashed over me. That family isn't just about shared blood, but about who stands by you when everything falls apart. Luna's recovery moved at a snail's pace, each day only slightly better than the last, but the distance between Elise and me refused to close. Our bank account had nearly bottomed out, and I was drowning in work, stuck behind a desk or traveling non-stop, chasing down any opportunity that might bring in money. Elise had no choice but to manage the home front, juggling Luna's medical follow-ups and the daily grind. One night, while I was still typing away at work, my phone buzzed. It was her. Will you be home for dinner? I don't think so, I admitted. I'm meeting with the site manager for the new build. Her sigh drifted through the speaker, long and tired. All right, she said, but the way she said it pierced me. I'm doing this for us, Elise, I told her. She was quiet for a beat. I didn't say otherwise, she murmured. I just said all right. The frustration boiled up inside me. You sound upset. After a pause, her voice came back, weary. I'm worn out. Luna's still not better, your parents have vanished from our lives, and mine are the only ones still showing up. And you're hardly ever home. Someone has to keep the bills paid, I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. Luna's surgery wiped us out. I'm trying to keep things from falling apart. A bitter laugh slipped through. Funny. Losing home seems to be a pattern in my family. The words landed hard. I couldn't help but think about the small rental her parents now lived in, the house they once owned long gone. A dull ache tightened in my chest. "I'll try to be home earlier," I said, ending the call. We weren't trying to hurt each other, but somewhere along the way, we had started slipping. Each of us stuck in our own bubble of pressure and quiet resentment. Instead of addressing it, we avoided it, falling into our separate silences. One morning, with Luna already off to school, I noticed Elise sitting on the couch, her phone buzzing with messages. She glanced up briefly, then turned away, fingers flying across the screen. "Who's that?" I asked, trying to sound neutral. "Just a friend," she replied, without looking at me. I didn't press. I was too tired to start anything. But soon, the little signs started catching my eye. Hushed phone calls, messages she quickly cleared, her screen flipping the moment I walked in. I told myself I was overthinking things, that the stress was making me paranoid. Still, something didn't sit right. Then one afternoon, my oldest friend, Jonas, dropped by the office to grab lunch. We'd been tight since high school. He was the kind of guy who could make anyone laugh, always easygoing. "How's Elise holding up?" he asked offhandedly. I shrugged. She's been kind of distant. Not that I blame her, with everything that's happened. He gave me a look. "Has she been hanging out with Travis? You know, from college?" My stomach turned. I'm not sure." "Why?" Jonas hesitated. "I saw them having coffee the other day. They seemed close. I just figured you knew." A pit of anxiety opened inside me. Travis and I were more acquaintances than friends, but he was still part of the circle. I tried to act like it was nothing. "Maybe they just ran into each other." "Maybe," Jonas said, but the doubt had already settled in. As my relationship with Elise frayed, the empire my parents had built began to crumble too. Word got out that they'd refused to help their granddaughter when she was sick, and a local reporter ran with the story. The headline screamed, "Wealth over family. Power couple skips child surgery for society wedding." The article exploded online. Their furniture stores faced public backlash, and longtime friends quietly distanced themselves. Even Riley's extravagant wedding, the one they prioritized over Luna's operation, became a PR nightmare, with guests pulling out in droves. The glitz remained, but their reputation was in shreds. Every few weeks brought another article painting them as heartless and vain. Rumors even swirled that Riley made me beg for help while he toasted his guests. I didn't have it in me to feel sorry for any of them. But Elise? Her anger simmered differently. One night, she threw a magazine onto the kitchen table, the headline screaming about my family's disgrace. "Look at this," she said, voice sharp. "They act like your parents are the only ones to blame. But this goes deeper than just them. This whole family dynamic, it's broken." I looked up at her. "What are you trying to say?" Her eyes burned with emotion. "Do you even understand how alone I've been? Your parents hate me, and you're never here. My family is the only support system we have, and even then, I'm the one left to patch everything together while you chase contracts. Luna needed her father, and you were nowhere to be found." Her voice cracked with rage, and I stood there, words caught in my throat, crushed beneath the truth she had finally spoken aloud. "My whole life is wrapped around this. For us." My voice quivered as I spoke. "Do you think I enjoy driving myself into the ground, only to walk into a home that feels hollow?" She scoffed, a dry, bitter laugh. "Better than being invisible, don't you think?" Our eyes locked. The air between us was suffocating, heavy with words unspoken. But neither of us dared to speak again. I spun around and stormed off, the bedroom door slamming shut behind me like a gunshot. Weeks slipped by. Then one morning, a meeting ended ahead of schedule. I figured I'd surprise Elise and maybe even catch a quiet moment before picking Luna up from school. She should have been tidying up, reading, maybe preparing lunch. As I slid the key into the lock, I heard muffled sounds, voices, laughter. One voice didn't belong to her. I stopped, breath catching. My pulse kicked up. The laughter grew louder, and I recognized it unmistakably. Travis. A chill gripped me, a cold hand on the spine. I moved silently down the hallway, my steps slow and measured. The bedroom door hung slightly open. I leaned in to peek, and what I saw turned everything to flame. Travis, half naked. Elise, nearly bare. Twined together in our bed, laughing like teenagers without a care in the world. Rage erupted inside me. I slammed the door open, the force shaking the frame. They froze in place. Travis, bug-eyed in nothing but boxers. Elise yelped, grabbing a scrap of sheet in a panic. "Derek!" Travis started, but I was already moving. I snatched the front of his boxers, yanking him off the mattress. He stumbled as I drove forward, shouting words I couldn't even hear. "You filthy bastard!" I bellowed. "In my house? In my bed?" Elise screamed, curling deeper into the sheets, her voice raw. "Derek, stop!" Travis tried to protest again, but I grabbed his leg and dragged him off the bed. He hit the floor with a thud, the nightstand toppling, the lamp shattering. Blinded by fury, I ripped the boxers from him. He scrambled, frantic to cover himself, eyes wild. "Get out!" I snarled. He writhed on the floor, trembling, his face drained of color. "Derek, please, don't do this!" "I said get out!" I roared, hauling him by the ankle through the hallway, his pleas bouncing off the walls. My heart pounded like a war drum in my chest. I kicked the front door open. Outside, rain poured down in sheets, a mirror of the chaos boiling in me. Behind me, Elise's voice rose. "You're going to hurt him! Stop!" I didn't. I dragged Travis out onto the porch, rain soaking both of us in seconds. He tried to stand. I shoved him. He slipped hard on the wet concrete. "If you ever so much as breathe near her again," I said, my voice low and shaking, "I'll bury you." He stared up at me, drenched and shivering, shame etched into every inch of his face. He snatched his clothes from the doorstep and fled into the downpour. I turned back inside. Elise stood frozen, her bare feet on the hardwood, the sheet gripped so tightly her knuckles had gone white. Wet hair clung to her cheeks, streaked with tears. "How could you?" I rasped. "With him? In our bed?" She shook, tears glistening in her eyes. They didn't fall, they boiled. "You think you've been suffering?" she choked. "For the past year, Derek, I was a ghost. You didn't see me, you didn't ask, you didn't care." I clenched my fists, my voice tight with restraint. "Don't you dare turn this around." I was breaking, and you were too busy saving everything but us, paying bills, playing hero, telling yourself this was all for Luna, but you never looked at me. I stepped closer. I worked myself raw to hold this house together, to give Luna a chance. She cut in, laughing bitterly through her tears. "A chance given by my parents, not yours, not just you." "Oh, so now I'm the villain for trying to give us a life?" I snapped. "You think long hours and cold silences make you a saint?" She shot back. "You left me to face your family's judgment alone. You left me with the guilt." Travis listened. He saw me. "And that's enough reason to screw him?" I shouted. Her tears spilled freely now. "I told you I was slipping. I begged you to see me. But you were too busy proving something to people who never gave a damn about you." I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "So you rewarded that by crawling into bed with my best friend?" Her jaw tightened. Her eyes lit up with defiance. "I'm not justifying it. I'm telling you why it happened." Silence fell like a curtain. The only sound was the rain hammering the roof. Then I spoke the words that had been clawing their way up my throat. "You make me sick," I said coldly. "Get out. Tonight." She wiped her face with a trembling hand. "What about Luna?" "She deserves more than this mess," I said. "Start packing, Elise." She opened her mouth, maybe to argue, maybe to explain, but nothing came out. She spun around without warning, the sharp echo of her heels ringing out as she strode away, leaving me to stand alone amidst the wreckage of what once was ours. My heart thrashed in my chest, each beat wild and punishing. My breath hitched in uneven bursts, like I was choking on a poisonous mix of heartbreak and fury. The second I uncovered her betrayal, she was gone. All that remained was a hollow shell of a home and a tempest I couldn't contain. Elise walked out that night, but not before insisting we discuss joint custody of Luna. I told her we'd revisit the idea when the chaos settled. In the days that followed, my mind unraveled, haunted by flashes of Travis's bare body, Elise's blotched, tear-streaked face, and the cruel sting of deception. I barely functioned, moving through each day as if dragging my soul behind me. Work became my refuge, the one place where I still had any grip on reality. Then one evening, Jonas let himself in with the spare key I hadn't thought to reclaim. He found me slouched in the dim light of the living room, a half-drained bottle of whiskey sitting on the floor. "Derek," he said softly, "you've got to open up to someone." So I did. I told him everything, from walking in on Elise and Travis to the soul-crushing humiliation that followed. His expression darkened with every word. "I had a feeling," he admitted. "I saw them together a few times, but I never imagined it was like that." I couldn't bring myself to blame him. Jonas had always been there, a real friend, just oblivious to how deep the knife had gone. "He's out of the picture now," I murmured. Jonas sank into the couch beside me, the silence between us thick and unmoving. After a beat, he asked, "So, what now?" A bitter, empty laugh escaped my lips. "Divorce, what else?" "You sure there's no salvaging this?" he asked carefully. "Yeah, she messed up, bad. But is that really the end?" Rage surged inside me. I nearly sent the bottle flying. "Are you actually asking me that? She slept with my best friend, lied to my face for who knows how long, played me for a fool. How the hell do you come back from that?" Jonas exhaled, slow and quiet. "I hear you. I do. I'm just saying, Luna's in the middle of this. Don't make decisions you'll regret for the rest of your life. Just think it through." But clarity felt impossible to reach, buried beneath layers of hurt, betrayal, and the bruises left by my parents' indifference. Was this my fate, to always be let down by the people I trusted? And as if the universe hadn't finished with me, a call came just a week later. My mother's voice crackled through the receiver. "Derek," she said, "we need help." I gripped the phone tighter, my voice like ice. "That's Rich. I needed help too, not that long ago." She paused, then let out a shaky breath. "We're about to lose everything," she said. "The house, the business, gone. Riley's divorce destroyed the company. We're 200 grand in debt. If we don't come up with it, we're on the street. There's no one else we can turn to." My teeth clenched so hard it hurt. "Do you think I'm just sitting on stacks of cash? You shut me out when I begged for $12,000 to save Luna's life. Now you want more than that?" She broke down, sobbing over the line. "We were wrong. God, we were wrong. But we don't have anyone else. You're our son. You're our only hope." A laugh, cold and sharp, slipped past my lips. "Family?" I said. "Where was that family when I was pounding on your door, praying for help while my daughter was dying?" She tried to respond, but I cut her off. "Be at my office tomorrow, 2 o'clock sharp. Don't be late." I ended the call and tossed the phone aside. An eerie calm settled over me, tinged with a bitter satisfaction. The same people who had once abandoned me were now crawling back on their knees. Maybe, just maybe, there was justice in this world. The next afternoon they showed up, my mother looking worn and red-eyed, my father pale and hollow. I led them into a meeting room. In the center of the table sat a black suitcase, unlatched, revealing $2,000 in neatly stacked bills. Over the years, my company had thrived, fueled by pain and a relentless drive to never feel helpless again. My father's eyes locked on the money, a look of desperate hunger flickering across his face. My mother wrung her hands in silence. "We'll pay you back," she whispered. "We swear it." I snapped the suitcase shut. The sound echoed like a final judgment. "I'm not interested in your promises." They looked at me, bewildered. My father cleared his throat. "Then, what do you want?" I met their eyes without flinching. "Take the money and disappear. Forever. No more calls, no more favors. This is the last piece of grace I'll ever offer you. You let me beg to save my daughter's life. You turned away. And now here you are. I get to show you what happens when the person you cast aside rises up." My mother's lips quivered. "Derek, we were proud. We made mistakes. But we do love you." I shook my head. "No, you love the idea of family. You love your reputation, your parties, your status. If you'd ever really loved me or Luna, we wouldn't be here now." My father sank into the chair, his trembling hands resting on the edges of the old suitcase. "We can still make this right, son," he whispered. I let out a laugh, cold, empty. "There's nothing left to fix. When I begged you, pleaded with you to help Luna and you didn't, that's when you lost me." Both of them looked like they wanted to respond, but I didn't give them the chance. I stood, pointing toward the door. "Leave." My mother began to cry, clutching my father's arm as they gathered their things and slowly stepped out. When the door clicked shut, I dropped into the chair, limbs heavy and lifeless. Whatever this was, it didn't feel like a win. They still had a roof over their heads. But I no longer had parents. That evening, Elise called. She asked if we could talk, about Luna. When she arrived, she wore a plain sweater and jeans, her face pale and worn. My chest tightened at the sight of her. "How's Luna?" she asked, voice low. "She's okay," I replied sharply. "I picked her up from school. She's in her room, probably reading." Elise nodded faintly. Silence followed, long and strained. Eventually, she let out a breath. "Derek, I'm sorry for everything. I still want to be in Luna's life." I studied her face. She wasn't faking it. The remorse was real, but the image of Travis in our bed burned too deeply. "You can see her," I said, my voice flat. "We'll work something out. But you and I, we're done. No counseling, no second chances." She blinked, once, hard. "I understand. Just, please know I was falling apart too. Your parents hated us. You were never home. I felt completely alone, like I didn't even recognize you anymore. I'm not trying to excuse it, but I was drowning." Anger rose again, sharp and fast. "And that gave you a reason to cheat? You could have said something, asked for help. We could have tried. But instead, you chose Travis. That's how you dealt with it?" She stared at the floor. "I couldn't even look at myself, Derek. I know that doesn't make it better." We sat in that fragile silence, the kind that follows a storm when everything feels broken. We were both worn down, stripped bare. After a while, I tilted my head toward Luna's room. "She's in there. Go ahead." Elise nodded, eyes glistening, and quietly made her way down the hall. Moments later, I heard Luna's voice, bright and full of joy. "Mommy!" That sound pierced right through me. She didn't deserve any of this. No child did. Not the lies, not the heartbreak, not the mess. From that day forward, Elise and I only spoke about Luna. She found a small apartment on the other side of town and began seeing Luna on weekends, sometimes overnight. I filed the divorce papers. My lawyer handled it all. It felt strangely procedural, considering the emotional wreckage we'd been through. I buried myself in projects at the interior design firm, taking on new clients, pushing the business forward. At first, I was driven by rage, but eventually, that turned into focus, clearer, steadier. Elise's parents, relieved that Luna was doing better, decided to move nearby. One afternoon, I surprised them. I'd bought back the house they had sold. When I handed them the keys, my hands shook. "You saved her life," I said quietly. "This is the least I can do." Elise's dad tried to decline, eyes glassy, but I wouldn't let him. In the end, they took the keys, and for a fleeting moment, I saw a real smile on their faces. The marriage was over, but they still felt like part of my family. Somehow, life kept moving forward. Luna began to thrive again, her laughter echoing through the house, her energy uncontainable. Her illness faded into a memory, just one chapter in her unfolding story. She loved spending weekends with her grandparents and was making new friends at school. Each time I saw her smile, a flicker of something unfamiliar stirred inside me. Hope. One afternoon, while I was reviewing contract drafts at the dining table, Luna walked up to me with those wide, wondering eyes. "Daddy," she asked, "how come we don't see Grandma Lydia and Grandpa Malcolm anymore?" I felt my chest tighten. I gently put the papers aside. "They've been busy," I said, trying to keep my tone light. "Things are different now." Her brow furrowed. "But we used to see them all the time, at birthdays. Did they do something bad?" I hesitated. How could I explain the weight of betrayal to a child who still believed that grandparents were supposed to love you no matter what? "They weren't very kind when you got sick," I finally said. "Maybe when you're older, I'll tell you more." She nodded slowly, sensing more than understanding. Then she smiled again. "Can we go see Grandma and Grandpa Spencer sometime?" I gave her a small smile. "Yeah, I think we can." The weeks slipped by, then months. The divorce was finalized. I settled into the rhythm of single fatherhood, balancing work, Luna, and the quiet moments in between. Sometimes I'd catch a glimpse of old wedding photos, or baby pictures of Luna, and a wave of nostalgia would sweep through me, bittersweet and sharp. But I knew the past was behind me. Now and then, Elise would still send a text. "Can we talk about something?" Each time she tried to speak, I met her words with quiet control. "Only if it's about Luna's schedule." That was usually enough to bring her to a halt. Maybe she realized the space between us was her doing, a distance she could no longer bridge. I kept repeating to myself that I no longer missed her. Perhaps that was true. Or maybe it just hurt less to lie. As for Travis, he vanished completely, as if swallowed by guilt. Some said he'd started fresh somewhere far off, but I never checked. On still nights, when the silence stretched through the house, my choices circled back to me like ghosts. Did I go too far in cutting off my parents? Was I too harsh in shutting Elise out? Should I have met her missteps with more compassion? Was there a fleeting moment I missed, one that could have altered the outcome and kept our marriage from breaking apart? The questions turned endlessly in my mind, but no clear answer ever came. I simply moved forward, one day at a time. The sound of Luna's carefree laughter was the only light strong enough to pierce the gloom. Nothing wrapped up neatly. My parents stayed at a distance, holding on to what little remained of their pride and home. Riley faded into the background, most likely still guarding his grudges. Elise kept going in her own direction, her path running beside mine but never intersecting. The only connection left between us was Luna, and the love we both held for her, unwavering and absolute. I'm Derek. Once I thought family was unbreakable, something solid enough to weather anything. But I've come to understand that even the strongest structures can be hollow inside. Blood ties don't always equal loyalty, and family sometimes just means shared history, not shared heart. In the end, the people who lift you up might not be the ones you were born to. Strangers or those married in can sometimes do what your own can't, or won't. Still, I don't regret helping my parents keep their house. That gesture wasn't a gift. It was a goodbye. If they ever come back, remorseful and hoping to fix what's broken, I might stay silent. Elise might try to revisit what we left behind, but not all bonds are meant to be retied. Did I do the right thing by walking away and not looking back? I ask myself that more often than I admit. Could I have salvaged something, anything, from the wreckage? People have their own beliefs. Some lean toward forgiveness. Others think certain wounds never truly heal. I'm suspended somewhere in between. But this much is clear. Each morning, Luna wakes with a smile, her spirit light and untouched by the weight of what came before. That, more than anything, anchors me. If you've come with me this far, you may have your own thoughts. Maybe you think I should have let Elise back in, despite everything. Maybe you believe I should have given Travis a second chance or let my parents face the fallout alone. I don't have your answers. I can only place those questions in your hands now. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you liked this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.